You're listening to the Womanpreneur podcast. Empowerment in business and life. Welcome back to the Womanpreneur podcast. My name is Melissa Moats, and I am hanging out with my good friend and partner in crime. I said this 2 episodes in a row.
That's okay. I am
Amanda McEwen.
Hello.
You are my partner
I
in
like
crime.
your sidekick. I'll take it.
Well, whatever. My wing woman, or I'm your wing woman.
Could be.
It just depends. We're each other's. Hey, girl.
I'll take it. Hello.
So today we're talking results.
Results-driven behavior, I believe.
Result-driven behavior. Just results. Get those results. You know?
Get them.
Get them. Go get them.
There you go. And that concludes our episode.
That's a wrap.
Results, you want them? Go get them.
Thanks for tuning in.
Full of great nuggets today.
Oh, I love it. Well, we were talking about, different topic ideas for our upcoming podcasts. And, you were really into branding. And I said, heck yeah, I can get behind that. It's a great conversation. And I suggested results. And you were also down for the conversation. So thanks for always being so open-minded.
I like results.
Me too. Well, there's a thing about getting results. You actually have to take action.
What?
I know.
It just doesn't fall out of the sky and happen magically.
Right? It's a crazy thing how that works. But one of the things that I wanted to kick off our episode with on the topic of results is what I call the 3 Ps.
The 3 Ps, which I learned are not vegetable related.
Yeah, Amanda was like, 3 Ps. She's like, I'm visualizing these 3 little cartoon peas.
No, they weren't cartoons.
Oh, I thought they were a cartoon.
It's just that my brain is so literal. So when she said 3 Ps, and she hasn't told me what they are yet, I just had to assume that they were vegetables.
Yeah,
And
well,
I don't know. Maybe she has peas in her pocket.
there are 3 words that begin with the letter P. And I think
Persnickety?
that
sorry.
persnickety, that could be one of your P's. But these are 3 things that I have found over the years that are very important, very valuable to really helping you follow through and get the results. So whether you are using these 3 Ps in an actionable way for your business or personally, I think they work, either way.
They could be personal Ps.
They could be personal Ps.
We could do the all alliteration
They could
this
be.
episode.
I know we
use
could.
as many P words as I can.
Right? But
It would be my pleasure.
It would be
to
your
help
pleasure.
you portray your 3 Ps.
This is very productive. Let's see
be
how many
quiet and let you
keywords we can come up with. But then we're going to confuse everyone who's tuning in for the 3 main Ps.
What are the 3 main Ps?
So I'm going to start
the first P,
with the
please?
first P. Okay. The first P is passion. You've got to be passionate about whatever it is that you're wanting to get a result in or from. And it's important because if you're not passionate, you're really not going to go for it. You're not going to perform. You're not going to pursue.
I'm going to have way too much fun with this. I'm
ridiculous.
sorry.
Oh, we are.
I like being ridiculous.
I just want to say the word pancake now.
As you should.
Okay.
Pancake. Okay.
But if you are not passionate about what it is that you're wanting to go after, forget about it. You've got to be passionate because it takes passion to get you up and get you moving and going in that right direction.
Well, that's why you put off the thing. That one was not intentional.
Okay.
But you procrastinate on the things that you don't want to do. I'm really not trying at this point, but I can't help it. It's my fault. I started
anything that starts with the P
I know.
is just going to work in here.
It's
I'm
okay.
sorry, but it's really perfect.
Thank you. But we put off the things that we don't want to do because we're not passionate about them. That's why, and we've talked about this. I have a drawer where I stick everything that I don't want to put in the filing cabinet. It's because it's not going to take me a lot of time. I just don't like to do it.
Right.
I would rather be doing something fun like the podcast.
Right. Ooh, another P word.
Yes.
But if you're not passionate about something, you're going to avoid it, or you're going to put it off, or you're not fired up. You've got to be fired up about something that you want to get a result in. I mean, you've really got to be fired up.
Yeah. Or like you've mentioned before, you kind of have to trick yourself into doing things like bookkeeping or admin type work. You're not passionate about that. You don't enjoy it. So you find ways to make yourself passionate about it, whether it means blasting the 80s music and, drinking your coffee and getting into something that you are going to enjoy it more. It's part of it, because the bigger picture, there are a lot of little things that you might not love that you're going to have to do to get you to that big thing to get the results that you want.
So if there's something that you put down on your, let's just say, for example, your New Year's resolution list or your new day resolution list, because you can do this at any moment. You have an idea, I really want to do X. Ask yourself, am I truly passionate about this? Does it get me going? Am I fired up? Am I excited? Is this just something I'm feeling in the moment? Is this impulsive? Or is this something that every day when I wake up, it's on my mind and it's the thing that makes me want to leap out of bed to put energy toward? So I think that that's an indicator. So passion, that is definitely a big P. Okay, do you want to hear?
Big piece of the puzzle?
It's a big piece of the puzzle. Again,
what's
point well taken.
what's the second P, Melissa?
The second P is persistence. Persistence is huge because you've got to be willing to do the work and come at it time and time again. I mean, I think that the word just in itself speaks for itself. Do you have anything you want to add to being persistent?
I have a plethora of persistence.
Oh, well, tell me
in my repertoire.
Please.
No, it's just that. I mean, that's a big part of how I've gotten things done in my life, is being persistent. It's not giving up. And when we're talking about being results driven, that's where the driven part comes in. It's that you're willing to do what it takes to get that result that you want. And you're not just going to give up when things get hard.
As one of my mentors have said over the years, refuse to go away.
Yes.
If you want it bad enough, whatever it is, you've got to be persistent. You've got to keep at it. And that might include some course correction. You might come at something in one way and it doesn't work. It doesn't mean that you should just, give up and curl up in a ball and say, oh, it didn't work. Okay, I guess
Don't
it
pout.
wasn't meant to be. Don't pout.
Abby's shaking her head. She's like,
Oh,
people are
boy.
stupid.
Yeah.
I love it.
But you got to just keep at it.
And that is what I see happen more than anything. It's not that somebody has a bad idea, that their goal is unreasonable. They just don't have the follow through and they give up too soon, or they get discouraged. Discouragement, I think, is again, discouragement. Is that a word?
Yeah.
Okay. It sounded weird when I said it, but maybe because
Probably because you don't say it every day.
Probably.
It's not really in your vocabulary.
It's not.
Hey, girl.
Well, no, but it is. And I know what it's like to get frustrated when your project isn't doing what you wanted to do, or you're not getting something that you're working really hard towards, but you just can't give up if it's important to you. And that's where the passion ties in with the persistence, because if you are passionate, you're going to do whatever you need to do. You're going to find a way. And if you're not willing to do that, then it's a really serious conversation with yourself. It's like, do I really want this? Or am I just scared to get it or to try it, to go after it? Because there can be a lot of obstacles in the way. That just means you find a different way.
Yep. You just have to keep course correcting and you'll get there, and it doesn't happen overnight in so many cases. I mean, the bigger the dream or the more outlandish or scarier or, if you're aiming for the stars or beyond, it's like, you've got to go, okay, it's going to take me a little bit of time, and I might have to, persuade myself and others to I don't know. I was trying to be funny
It was
and
good.
tangent, but then I felt real pressured.
Nice.
So I stopped
Don't second
myself.
guess yourself, Melissa
No,
Munson.
I
If you want
know.
to go for the alliteration.
I was really into it, but then I just thought I was trying too hard, so I backed off.
You got perturbed with yourself.
I got perturbed. Yeah.
That's okay.
But you guys follow me on this. Just go for it and be persistent. Don't let anybody get in your way, including yourself, mostly yourself.
Mostly.
Yeah. And then do you want to hear my last P?
No.
Well, all right.
I do. I want to hear your last.
You don't have to listen to it, but I'm sure our listeners care.
Please.
It's patience. So patience is such an important part of the process because I see so many people for me in voice acting that I mentor, people who I mentor, give up on themselves so quickly because they have no patience. And they think that they've, come to a few classes, they've put in a little bit of work, that they're supposed to be able to get all of these results and to be so amazing at a craft that they've hardly applied themselves at. And I get a little frustrated as a mentor because I drive home the point all the time that you've got to put in the work. You've got to do the work. You can't skip the part of doing the work. And a lot of people just don't hear that. They miss that part and they are impatient. And they have so much talent and so much potential. There's another P word for you. But they give up before they even really get going. Yeah. And that's really hard to watch happen because I know a lot of people could do this if they wanted to.
That impatience it's just terrible because I see that happen all the time. And again, then people give up. There's a lot of giving up that happens. But to me, when you're results driven, it means that you're focused on the end goal or the objective, not necessarily on the way to get there. But a lot of people are more focused on the path. They're focused on, but on the timeline. And sometimes the timeline's not realistic.
Right.
And they let the little details get in the way instead of saying, okay, so I didn't get to it in this amount. Doesn't mean that goals are bad. Let me preface it with that. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't have specific achievable goals. That's part of that whole SMART thing we talked about a few episodes ago. But if you don't get there in the amount of time, but who said the amount of time?
Yeah.
Because I see, to go back to your students at the voice actor studio, everybody has it's not a set amount of time. And we tell people this up front because that we get that question a lot. Well, how soon until I can start booking jobs? Like, okay, well, you just took the intro class, so you're probably not at that point yet. But, and it depends how much work you're willing to put in it, how much time, how dedicated are you to getting that result?
So you can be motivated, you can be determined, you can be passionate, but every day when you get up, what kind of energy are you putting toward that goal or that result that you're hoping for or you're planning for? You have to put in, action every single day. I was just listening to an audiobook, and one of the points that was given was writing down your goals every single day, because if you have a big goal, the little goals that you're going to, be attacking along the way, they may change because you think that the path, the one way you're going to take it to get to that end goal, but it can change because you try this or you try that and it's not quite working out the way that you had hoped. So writing down your goals, the small goals every day along the way will really help you, shape and reshape the steps you need to take to get there. And I thought that was really good advice.
It is. I agree with that. And I also think, and I'm not trying to be funny with this one, but prioritizing is a big part of that because when you have that list of goals, because that is, we all have the big goal and then there's little goals and there's all these different things and other things that have to be done. And it's how you prioritize. And there's different strategies in that. And I was actually going to ask you, Because if you have, say you have this list of all the things that you need to get done, do you attack the smaller things first, the ones that you're going to get done quicker? Or do you start with the big impending one that you know that once that gets out of your way, the rest are going to be easy?
The honest answer to that would be it depends on the day or the week, because
Yep.
there have been times when I have had something that's just kind of been looming and I'm like, oh, it just bugs me. It's eating
Yeah.
away at me. And I go, it's going to take half a day though to deal with that. And I don't have that time, et cetera, et cetera. We have so many different ways we can look at our day. But there have been days where I'm like, you know what? I don't care if I get any other thing done today. I'm doing that one big thing and getting it off my plate.
Yep.
And then I feel like, the weight of the world has been lifted. But more often than not, to answer your question, I tend to go, okay, I think I've heard you say something similar. If it takes less than 5 minutes, do it right now.
Yeah.
Like that's how I attack my inbox. It's like, what are all of the things that I can answer quickly, efficiently, and just get taken care of? I'll go through and do all of those things first. And then the things that take a little more time, thought, care, planning, double checking, with like scheduling, things like that, I go back and do those next. But yeah, I think that it's a way to get more handled in a shorter period of time.
Yeah, but what I hear from that is that there's thought that goes into it.
Yeah.
And that is sometimes people just go at things in such an arbitrary manner that, it's funny because we're saying that sometimes you have to change the path and shake up the routine, but sometimes you have to have the routine in order to shake it up.
Yeah.
So it's, you have to have a plan of sorts on how you're going to get those results.
Yeah.
But you have to be able to adapt and understand that, okay, well, you set this plan in motion, or you went off on this path, or you set this deadline, but is it a real deadline? And if it's not, maybe keep going and don't just, and because again, sometimes people are like, well, I just thought I should have been doing X, Y, or Z at this point. It's like, yeah, but who says? Like who set that time limit for you? And then you think there's some people that, I find this in the film industry a lot. There might be somebody who's really well known that sat on their film for 10 years before they got it to go anywhere. Like it's, and then there's somebody that goes out on their first try and a matter of timing, and then everything's just out there in a matter of months. Like there's no rhyme or reason. You can't always predict how it's going to happen. And it goes back to that, just having an acceptance that things happen when they're supposed to. But it doesn't ever mean that you can stop working.
Yeah.
Like if it's important, you have to keep driving it forward, because the second you stop, unless you're going to say, you know what, I've given up. I've put all the energy that I can into this, which is okay to get to that point. But then it's, again, how honest are you being?
Yep.
Do you not want that result anymore? Do you truly believe you can't get the result that you want? Or have you lost your passion for it because you've just been trying so hard? And only you can answer that. But a lot of times I think people give up so fast. And then because it's easier, I guess, in a way. It
is, but I think that if that little voice inside of you keeps saying, it wants to do this thing, or it wants to achieve this thing, it's just, you're not being fair to yourself. It's sad.
Yeah,
You owe it to yourself. This is your life. This is your journey. These are your moments, and live them for you. I'm not suggesting to not share with other people. And I mean, to me, it's the people in my life that make my life so, precious.
Oh.
Hey, no, but truly, I love all the people in my life so much. But the dreams that I have, the goals that I have, those are mine. They're for me, and so you owe it to you to see them through. That's what gives your life meaning, is just going after those things, and it helps you find your purpose, and fulfill your purpose, I think.
I think so too. That's good.
Thank you.
I had something else to say and it left my brain, so I just went with it's good.
Thank you. It's good. It's good.
Well, no, it's that, I don't accept failure. I do exercise the right to change my mind when I want to, but failure, I just don't really believe in it.
Yeah, me either.
And I know we've talked about that a lot, but there's always a lesson of some sort. You come out stronger than you were before.
Absolutely.
It's just a mindset. It's failure. No, but some people don't like that. They like saying, well, I tried and it didn't work, because it's almost like they give themselves an excuse to not try for anything.
And really, did you really try?
Right.
Yep. Did you?
Like, how much effort did you put into it?
Yeah. And it's just an interesting thing.
Because people they're full of excuses, and that's and we talked about it in our last episode too. But the caring so much about what other people think, and it's that again, whose timeline are you working on?
Yep.
And you're comparing yourself to somebody else. That's not your story. That's their story. Don't worry about them. Let them do what they're doing over there, and you do what you need to do to get the results that you want.
Another thing that I was listening to in this audiobook, he was talking about how our goal setting is very much shaped by the environment that we are in. So, we might measure a goal to be a big goal, but if you asked someone else who, like think of one of the big giants like Steve Jobs, someone who's achieved so much. If you were to share your goal with someone like him, would he say it was a big goal or a big deal? Or would he say, oh no, that's something you could handle in a month if you really applied yourself? But someone in your circle, in your life, they might say, oh, you could never do that, or that can't be done. It really has a lot to do with the people you share your goal ideas, your aspirations with, how they think and feel, and how much of an impact that has on the way you go about goal setting, and how you measure whether or not they're big or small. So I think one of the challenges that I found amazing, and I'm going to tell you what book I'm listening to right now because I love it so much, is he was just talking about, think about who it is you're sharing these ideas with, and how they make you feel about them, but it's 10x. I think that's what it's called, 10x. The idea is doing 10 times more than, you think you can do to really get an actionable result. And that was one of the things that inspired this topic for me. It's because I've been listening a lot to, I think his name is Grant Cardone. I'm terrible at remembering titles of books, and I'm terrible at remembering authors' names, but I love the ideas and the content. And I listen to so much stuff that sometimes I'm like, did I hear that in that audiobook, or did I read that in a blog? Like, where did I get that from? But I'm always feeding my brain, and that's something, it's a tangent, but I think it's worth mentioning, is that's one of my goals every day, is to feed my brain really good information. I like to think of myself as, I'm always growing, I'm like a flower that's in a constant phase of blossoming,
Are you a petunia?
And I'm not a petunia.
Okay.
I am maybe a sunflower.
Poppy?
I'm a sunflower.
Okay. It's fine. It doesn't start with a P, but it's fine.
Sorry,
it has petals.
I'm not a petunia.
That might be my favorite part of the episode. I'm not a petunia.
I'm not a petunia.
Yep.
Let's just clear that up right now. I'm a sunflower. But yeah.
That might go on our social media.
But that's something that's just worth mentioning. What are you exposing yourself to every single day as far as content is concerned? Are you watching the news around the clock? Are you a news junkie? Because there's a whole lot of negativity there. I'm just going to leave that right there. But the other thing too is social media can also be, negative and have a lot of, we were talking about that in an earlier episode, the comparison trap, right?
Yep.
So my point is I like to listen to things every day that really inspire me and fill me up and get me motivated. And also just, I like to learn. I think learning every day is so important. I love new ideas. I love other people's perspectives on things. I just get so excited. That's the way I start my day every day.
And by doing that, you start off from a place of motivation and inspiration instead of a place of, all this bad, like a lot of people, because the first thing when they wake up, they pick up their phone and they start scrolling through Twitter or social media or whatever, the news, and they start off their day with something negative. And that permeates in how the whole day goes, because it happens on a subconscious level. But if you start by reading an idea that's exciting, and then it's like, oh, wait, okay, so now I'm motivated. Maybe that's not what I'm doing, but that person is doing it. And to me, when I see other people going after their goals and achieving them, that's more motivation. Whereas, we all know those people that when you say, oh, I have this great idea, and they're just going to shut it down right away. But that's not about you or about your idea. That's about their state of mind, or
it's a reflection of them and where they are. And another thing too is, another thought would be when you wake up in the morning or when you start your day, even before you expose yourself to anyone else's ideas or content, maybe writing down your own goals, your own thoughts, your hopes for the day, your hopes for the week, anything. Maybe you had an amazing dream and you don't want to forget about it. It was something that really spoke to you. I don't know, I just really like to spend my time and my energy digesting content that just makes me feel really, really good. And I feel like helps me grow as a person and helps me help others grow. So just there you go. I don't know.
There you go.
There you go. There you have it. I don't know. Some side thoughts that I'm pretty pumped.
Yeah.
Ooh, another P word.
There's a lot. We should do a tally by the end of it.
But do you want to know one funny thing about all this inspirational content that I listen to?
I do.
I have a limit for it because sometimes if I start feeling like anxious, like, oh my gosh, I'm losing my mind, it's because I've OD'd on so much inspirational content that I'm like, I can't handle another positive affirmation. I'm going to explode. Or I start to just feel super anxious. Like I want to do all the things. Yep. I want to take all of this and put it into action. And I cannot. I have to shut it off and listen to 80s music.
That's where that balance comes in.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of times on here, when you're asking, oh, what are you listening to, or who's inspires you? I'm not doing that, because sometimes I think people can fall into that trap of listening to and reading so much content from other people that they put off doing this stuff for themselves.
Yeah.
And it's, we're looking for all the inspiration and the ideas and how to get started and how should I do this? But then there's so much.
Thinking about it hard does not mean that you just did anything.
Right. Exactly. But that's the thing. If you sit there and you're listening to an audiobook for 2 hours, what could you have done to get your results in that 2 hours?
Right.
But it's that balance again, and just coming from your own personal state of mind, how much research is good and how much is too much, how much of it is just you putting off doing the thing that you need to do.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we all get stuck and we need the inspiration, and we all like to learn, but a lot of times all that content overload.
Take that content and put it into action. Mm-hmm. So it's like, what did you just listen to and love, and what did you just take away? Mm-hmm. So then maybe write down that bullet point of the big takeaway of what you listened to today, and then how are you going to implement that into your day? Like, how are you going to make that actionable? So
sometimes our brains get that overload that you're talking about, and there's so much that we don't know where to start, because it's just too much. Like, I got to do this, and I got to do this, and I want to do that, and I can do this, and it's like, okay, so slow down.
Yeah, and I will
start with one thing.
Yep, start with one thing. But I will say, I listen to that stuff every day, but I have I would say like 30 minutes is about enough for me. And then I'm like, okay, because you want to have a chance to let the idea marinate,
Right.
and just kind of like take it in and then see if you can execute it, if it was something that applied to your life and applied to your goals or whatever. So, but anyway, I just say surround yourself with positive content. And if you really are looking to grow, spend your time filling your cup up with knowledge and empowering yourself. There's so many great resources out there, from blogs that are really quick reads to even little, YouTube videos you can watch that can, fire you up and be like a minute of motivation. Sometimes that's all you need to just get you going. But find out what it is that, like what's your take action love language. What do you need?
Right.
Figure out what that is for you and then go for it.
And leave room for your own thoughts. Because that's with the
Yeah.
content overload. Sometimes you get so preoccupied with other people's thoughts and ideas that you lose your own, because they're just, you get just so distracted that you forget, well, wait, what is it that I want? What is it
Yeah.
that I feel? Do I think this is right for me, or maybe not so much? And so
there's a lot to be said for just some quiet and a still
peaceful
mind. Yeah, peaceful.
reflection, which is not a P word, but
Yes. Definitely. I don't know do you ever meditate?
I'm not. I think we've talked about this. I can't, because I can't stop thinking about food when I do it.
Oh, you're so
I'm
funny.
always hungry. So, you said pancake, and so I've been hungry ever since you said pancake. But
Are you thinking about peas?
What happens with me and because, like we just talked about, overload, I have that kind of constantly going on in my head. My brain thinks even when I'm not thinking, if that makes any sense. So some people are like, what? But it's really, my subconscious is very active. So there's always something going on in there. And like, I think I know in one episode I talked about how I woke up at 3 a.m. with a solution to a problem that my client didn't know she had. It's stuff like that happens. So meditation in theory would be very beneficial to me, but sitting still, not so much the sitting part, but the calming of my brain, I don't know where the off switch is on it. Which is why at night I need that 2 hours of reading something or watching something to distract my brain before I go to sleep. But usually meditation doesn't lead to the same clarity for me that it does for most. And a friend of mine who teaches yoga does not approve of that idea. He thinks it's crazy that I don't meditate, but
I've been playing around with it and I like it. I do better with guided meditations, where someone's just kind of like walking me through a series of relaxing my body and then setting an intention. And then, 5 to 10 minutes seems good for me. But sometimes like, I just like to drive in my car with nothing, like just the radio's off. I'm just chilling and driving. Like I sometimes do some of my best thinking and just kind of like reflecting when I'm driving. And then I get there and I'm like, whoa, how did I get here? I forgot I was driving.
Yeah, that's the scary part. Where
That
you're
is
like,
scary.
Oh, or you missed your turn and then you're like, well, what was I paying attention to?
It's true. They say that 80% of our daily habits are on autopilot. They're just, they're habits. So they're all habitual. So yeah, that's why I think breaking a habit or creating a new habit is so hard.
Could be.
Because our other habits are so set.
I don't find driving peaceful at all. So
really, I love to drive.
I hate it.
Maybe you need a pink Beetle.
I don't need a pink Beetle. I absolutely do not need
maybe you need a Prius.
Oh, well, I already have one.
I know.
I do need a personal driver. Abby for the win. Yes. Because I don't like, some people get panic attacks when they fly. I love flying because I just have to sit there.
Yeah,
I can read my stuff or
you
watch
like to
my
fly
stuff.
in planes.
In planes, yeah.
Wow,
We've got a lot of P words in here.
It was pretty perfect.
That's why, but that people then will have to tune into the video to see how many P words we actually said. Or maybe you'd like to guess. If you want to go on our Facebook page, we would love to hear some guesses. And maybe, I don't know, we'll give you a shout out if you win.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Or some other prize.
Ooh. Well, is there anything else that you want to put your perspective on?
Probably.
I feel like I feel really good about what we talked about, and I feel like I've run out of things to say.
Did you get the results you were hoping for?
I got the results I was hoping for.
Well, that's you can.
I just want you guys to just go for it. Just who cares what anybody thinks? And just get out of your own way and go do it. Handle your business.
Handle your business. Believe in yourself, because you can do it if you want to. You have to work for it. It's what we always talk about in our own businesses, in our own lives, in the podcast. It all comes down to that. You have to work for the things that you want. You can do it, though.
Can I do a recap?
Let's do a recap.
This is like the wrap up.
Okay.
So don't forget the 3 P's are be passionate, be persistent, and be patient. And if you do those things, those will equal results if you are taking action and doing the work. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning into the Womanpreneur podcast. Until next time, you've got this.